problème de connexion, pas de problème de transfert de vol. Avec l'agent de voyage Tempo Afrique Travel, c'est le voyage en toute tranquillité, en toute beauté, de votre maison jusqu'à votre destination. Votre satisfaction est notre plaisir.
Good evening, viewers of Tempo Africa TV, the only Pan-African web-based broadcasting outlet that promotes people. Yes, we promote people, associations, institutions, and companies who are working to help revitalize Africa as a united, prosperous, and powerful, and shall I add, sovereign continent. Welcome to our show, What's Up Africa, Que fait l'Afrique? Please join me today in welcoming a fellow African Ghanaian, a colleague from St. Augustine's University in Raleigh, North Carolina, Assistant Professor Nakote Hervey. He holds a BA in English, Literature, and Philosophy from the University of Ghana, Legon. That rings a bell. And an MA in English from North Carolina Central University in Durham, North Carolina. Nakote grew up near the famous Ozu Castle in Accra, Ghana, if I'm not mistaken, and saw it all until he left his native country for graduate and postgraduate studies in the United States. He's here with us today to share firsthand information on and his knowledge of the legendary Republic of Ghana, from the agony of defeat to the thrill of success. Welcome to the show, Professor Hervey.
Thank you so much, Dr. Balubi, for having me on your program. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you.
Can you share with our viewers, just in a couple of sentences, something more to add to your bio that I just presented? I know your CV is lengthy, and I couldn't have gone through it all, but I missed something. Please add it before we start properly speaking.
Yes, certainly. I was born in Ghana. I grew up, like you said, around the Christiansburg Castle. I went to also Presbyterian schools. Then, of course, I went to Legon from about 1977 to 1980. I went to Nigeria for 3 years at the time when Ghana was really going through challenges. And after 3 years in Nigeria, I had the opportunity to come here to the United States to pursue graduate studies in English. I was at North Carolina Central from 1993 to 96 to pursue my program. I graduated from there in 1996. I began teaching over at St. Augustine's, over at Shaw University at first. I had the privilege to teach over there at Shaw University for almost 15 years. After that, I took a little time off. I thought my profession in teaching was over, but 3 years later, I had the opportunity to start again, pursue my career in education over at St. Augustine's University. Currently, I'm in the English program, and I'm an assistant professor in English at St. Augustine's University. Certainly, it's a privilege for me to be here on the program.
It's an honor for us to have you, Professor Hervey. Let me go through this list, then we will start with the first question, because this is about the legendary Republic of Ghana. And no African will ever tell me that they don't know where Ghana is and the history, the political history of Ghana.
Yes.
No, we all know about it. We know something about it. But this man, native of Ghana, will give us some details. Let me go to the president of Ghana since independence from Great Britain, the very first one who was the first prime minister and then president, democratically elected, was late Dr. Kwame Nkrumah from 1960 through 1966. If I'm wrong, you correct me later.
Yeah, you're right.
And then Major General Joseph Arthur Ankra from 1966 through 1969, and followed by Brigadier General Akwasi Amankwa Afrifa, 1969 to 1970, from 1969 to 1970, just a year. And he was followed by Edward Akufo-Addo, 1970, 1972. Then Colonel Ignatius Kutu Achampong, 1972, 1978. Then Lieutenant General Fred William Kwesi Akufo, 1978, 1979.
Right.
And later on, after that, Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlins, J.J. Rawlins, as we fondly call him.
Yes.
1979. Then back 1981 through 2001.
Yes.
He was followed by Ila Liman, 1979, 1981.
Mm-hmm.
Followed by John Agekum Kufuor, 2001, 2009.
Yes.
And later was John Evans Atta Mills, 2009, 2012.
Yes.
Getting very close to the very, I won't say last, the latest, the person who is still in power. But before him was John Dramani Mahama, 2012, 2016.
Yes.
And from 2017 till the present day, it's Nana Akufo-Addo.
Yes.
Welcome again to the show, Professor Hervey. My first question to you, I'm sure you remember this vividly as if it was yesterday. Ghana under Kwame Nkrumah, what was it like?
Yes. Under Kwame Nkrumah, certainly Ghana was had attained perhaps the unique position of being the first African country to have gained its independence from Britain. And within the few years that followed, Nkrumah had put on perhaps unbelievable quality and level of achievement that had not been perhaps associated with any other African country at that time. Certainly, he laid down for the country fantastic social, economic, political, structural developments, which made it possible for Ghana to take its place as perhaps the leading voice of Africa, and in terms of Africa's contribution to the world at that time. Certainly areas like education, culture, structural developments, sports, health, and certainly a strong voice he had in Africans' position on world politics. Perhaps some of the greatest achievements for him and for Ghana at that time was becoming the trailblazer for Africa in world politics. And certainly Ghana became a country that the rest of the world looked up to. And there's no question that Ghana was where it was at that time. Its achievement was really the work of Kwame Nkrumah at that time. He had a vision for what Ghana should be. And to a large extent, he articulated that and brought it into fruition. Right. And so Ghana became the leader, the country that other Africans looked up to, right up to the time he was overthrown. Certainly, things could have been better under Kwame Nkrumah. There were things that could have been done in a different way.
Yeah,
I think
but we're not looking at the dark side at
yes,
all. No, not now, not here. It's what is positive, what was great. But you've mentioned a number of things, and what stuck in my mind is that Ghana was like the center of Africa. Was the center of Africa, and the name Kwame Nkrumah is on the lips of everybody, even the younger generation. They know something about Nkrumah.
yes.
That man, what was it about him? Pan-Africanist?
I think what really resonated with the world, and certainly with Africans and other African countries, was his position and assertion about the fact that Africans, blacks, we could attain great success given the opportunity. And certainly Ghana had that opportunity, and so he championed that. All the causes he championed were for not only Ghana, because he asserted right from the beginning that the freedom of Ghana is meaningless unless it is connected to the rest of Africa. And so for him, the center of his vision for Africa, certainly for Ghana and for the rest of Africa, was the fact that Africans can work together. Africans can be united for the greater good, not only for individual countries, but also for the greater continent itself.
Yes, that is correct. And we may say that he actually worked tirelessly and selflessly for the whole continent.
Yes.
Sometimes, and I wouldn't say sometimes, but at the expense of even his own nation. Yes. And that certainly caused problems. But we don't want to talk about that, those negative aspects. But this was the man who was ahead of his time. Yes. He was already calling all African nations to be united. And he wrote a book about that, right?
Yes.
The title is Africa Must Unite.
Yes.
Africa Must Unite. I think that's still a relevant topic.
Very, very relevant topic.
We may come back to Nkrumah. Actually, throughout the show today, we'll be going back and forth. But then the downward spiral through the worst crisis happened with Achampon. Can you tell us something about Achampon?
As we know, the Nkrumah's government was overthrown in February of 1966 after a bloody and violent coup d'etat. After that, there were a series of military governments that took the reins of Ghana, and certainly started from the coup led by Kutuka, then of course later on Achampon, and then the other generals followed. The last one, of course, was Akufo. And so by around 1960, between 66 to about 1969, we had a series of military governments, and so that ended with the coup, the palace coup, that was engineered and caused the overthrow of Achampon.
Right.
Certainly, after the military government that took over made a promise to set Ghana back in a democratic government, and so that happened when the election was held, and Dr. Kofi Abrefa-Busia won the election and began a new era, civilian government for Ghana.
Right.
Certainly, things were happening that continued to make Ghana a difficult and really dark period in the history of Ghana. And so as the situation continued to worsen, the military government of Achampon took over. And of course, the rest is what the rest that followed accumulated in the rise to power by Rawlings. Rawlings had a background in terms of his agitation for a change in government, for a better life for Ghanaians. For this reason, he was actually arrested, and he was being tried for insurrection by the military government.
Actually, before we talk about Rollins, why don't we just go back to a few things that you said? You mentioned Kotoka, and I believe the airport of Ghana, the major airport in Accra, was named after Kotoka because it was called, I don't know if it is still called so, it was called Kotoka International Airport.
Yes.
And then Achampo wasn't that bad. He took over, and the reason for the coup, he said, was corruption. Because actually, Nkrumah haven't failed, to look inward, to look inside, to take things, internal affairs in charge, and was being more concerned about the freedom of the entire continent.
Yes.
People he maybe appointed and during his administration were involved in corruption and a lot of bad things. And that's why one of the most important reasons that Achampo took over, and he promised to get rid of corruption. And he did start well. And I believe the first 2 years went very well. And then the third year or so, things started going really down the hill. So I thought I would just mention that. Then the turning point was with J.J. Rollins. Yes, tell us a little more.
Yes, and certainly, as you pointed out, within around the time that that Achampo took over, he had promised, like you said, to turn things around, to bring some control over corruption, but certainly it didn't happen. And perhaps around that time was when Ghanaians actually went through some of the most despondent, dark, humiliating period in Ghana's history. Certainly a lot of people left. They had to leave. And I remember things were so terrible that there was no food at all for people to eat. And of course, people had lost hope. And actually, Ghana was on the brink of
total
destruction. It was going, things were going to implode at that time. Yeah. And so certainly there was need for something had to have happened. And certainly it came in the person of Rawlings taking over. And certainly he was heralded as a person that was needed at that time to turn the course, at least to stop the rapid deterioration of Ghana into perhaps the worst that could have happened. And that Rawlings' rise to power was a reflection of the monumental failures of the other previous military regimes. And Rawlings and a group of young army officers overthrew the government, the military government, and set a stage for the 4th of June revolution, which was, in fact, an attempt by the military, the young military officers, to turn the tide around. There was a need for that, and however we look at it, it was a period that brought about a turning point, if you would. It did not happen right then. It took years, but it was a pivotal moment in Ghana's history that led to a leap forward to perhaps what happened years later.
Yeah, you said there was a need for it, and it was really weird to hear you say that, and actually having, let's say, I mean, firsthand, I learned about it as well. As you know very well, we have a common ground. We share something here. We share Shaw, and we also share Legon University.
Yes.
I think I just left when you were getting there. I left 77, and I started my career as a high school teacher in 77. Right. And everybody was happy. And yet there was this firing squad
Yes.
and, you know, killing people. But,
Yes.
well, sometimes I won't say we should do that. But
Yes.
if it went to that extent, not to feel anything, against, not feel bad about killing so many people, the need must have been really bad.
Yes.
And Rawlings coming to power was the turning point.
Yes.
And it did remain until 2001.
Yes.
And after Rawlings period, it is what we will call forging ahead, right?
Yes.
So he laid the foundation and the infrastructures. He laid down everything, even the ideology, even the idea of democracy. Although he was a military man,
Yes. Yes.
he knew what democracy was about. But
Yes.
he laid solid foundation, and everybody who came later on kind of follows through. So tell us how that transition worked to get to the current president, Nana Akufo-Addo.
Yes. I think I'd like to go back to where you mentioned the firing squad. Now, remember that Rawlings was released from jail by a group of young military officers.
Yeah.
And they had their demands. And in fact, he initially was just a spokesperson for that group. And as things continued to evolve, as the military began to take control over the events that occurred in Ghana, there was really, as he himself said, there was immense pressure on him to make significant, important decisions. And part of that was, of course, the execution of those earlier military officers, because he was on the verge of being overthrown, being asked to step aside, because they felt that a stronger, more assertive, more symbolic message had to be sent to the population as a whole. Remember, the Ghanaians had gone through this period of unimaginable suffering, and the point is that was contributed to a large extent by these earlier military government that took over. And certainly, Rawlings had to, in a way, go along with part of that decision, and of course that led to the firing squad. But the emergence of Rawlings and his generation of military leaders began the restoration of a country that had been devastated by corruption, despondency, ineptitude, and all that will go with it. And so there was need, and under Rawlings was, in fact, the beginning of the transformation and reemergence of Ghana. He laid the foundation for the progress that happened, and it was gradual, because from the time he took over until he handed over power for the first time, he had already laid some foundation, and people realized that there seemed to be a gradual change from the mood of hopelessness to perhaps a possibility of a new Ghana. And certainly that did not happen after they had handed power they didn't hand power, but after the election in which Liman won, within a few months, certainly things had deteriorated again to the point where Ghanaians, like I said, Ghanaians were living. In fact, people had to have left. And I'll talk about those who stayed behind, their contribution to where Ghana is at this point, and of course, the movement outside Ghana, and what the interaction of the two, those who stayed behind and those who left to make a living and bring back some wealth. It's really fundamental to the change in terms of the mood, in terms of the sense of hope for the future at that time.
Very good. I would say it's a big comeback for Ghana. It started well, very well with Nkrumah, and then the downward spiral, etc. And then there came this man. This man. He wasn't Jesus, wasn't a savior, but he did his very best. J.J. Rollins was the man of the people, okay, and he laid the foundation that we said, and that created a new Ghana. Talking about new Ghana, it wasn't just new Ghana. You can listen to Nana Akufo-Addo talking about Africa in general.
Yes.
I have the feeling that whatever he is saying is not just new Ghana, he's saying new Africa, right? He was, we can call him the man who is constantly in defense of Ghana and Africa as a whole. Did you have that kind of sense?
Yes. As we're trying to point out, the reemergence of Ghana was actually it was a rebirth, a renaissance, and you know that in terms of a renaissance is built on ideals that are there already, had been there already, and so from these ideals you look at these ideals within a new perspective, within new eyes, so that there's a progression from what had already been there, the Renaissance, into a new way of thinking, into a new way of doing things, just like we know about the Renaissance in world literature. And so where Rawlings had began to reassert, the areas that he had begun to reassert on, where from his historical point of view, we see that he was taking some of the greatness, what had made Ghana great years before, and brought it forward within the context in which he found himself. So ideals, for example, self-reliance, honesty, integrity, hard work, pride were fundamental to what Rawlings was able to regenerate, to recreate somehow among Ghanaians, because Ghanaians had always, especially because we're the first of Ghana's independence, we've had that innate characteristics of self-reliance, of hard work, of integrity. And certainly when things happened, at the time when Ghana deteriorated into chaos and hopelessness, these ideals seem to have gone, seem to have been submerged. And certainly a new leader in the person of Rawlings, when he came back, he went back to reawaken these ideals, which together with his own personality, with his own character, because you have to have a leader that you can see something positive out of. And I think part of what happened was the fact that a lot of people began to have faith, a renewal of faith, because of Rawlings' leadership, his self-determination, his resolve, his ability to empathize and connect with the people were very instrumental in the support that he gained. And I remember from the time he first overthrew the government and he came to Legon, we all rallied around him. Over the years, he took part in construction work. If he was driving around and he saw people doing any work at all, he stopped by, talked to them. So there was this feeling of the fact that this is a leader whose vision is for the betterment of Ghana, not just for one, two, or any ethnic group, but Ghana as a whole. And it sort of resonated with people. So people began to work harder, to continue to sacrifice, but at the same time to become more self-reliant. And certainly, like I said, with what others brought from outside, made it possible for us to have a new beginning, as we may refer to it.
Wonderful. That's great. Thank you for sharing all of that. And I think you mentioned um, those who were left behind, those who left the country, went into exile, were forced to get into exile, or because the country was actually, was thrown to the dogs, as it were. Okay, things went terribly bad. Okay, but now the success. Seems you moving, as the title of our show indicates, moving from the agony of defeat. And that defeat came about at the Champagne time, and then it started deteriorating, right?
Certainly, yes.
Real of success.
Yes.
Because now we can talk about the Renaissance, the rebirth that you're talking about.
Yes.
Those people who left and who are in the diaspora, even up to today.
Yes.
Did they play any role?
Yes.
The role of the Ghanaian diaspora in the Renaissance of Ghana you're talking about.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I believe the convergence between those who stayed at home, because people who stayed at home continue to sacrifice. But the only difference then was there was a glimmer of hope that things can get better if they continue to forge ahead with their sacrifices and their hard work. And certainly, again, at the time we left home, I left Ghana for Nigeria, and at that particular time, as we said, it was just a way for survival. And I think what happened then, those who left the country, that movement also created a certain perspective among all the Ghanaians, to a large extent, the Ghanaians who are left. There were sacrifices. People died. I remember when we were in Nigeria, people died just because they went out there to make a living. And there were places that Ghanaians lived, some jobs that Ghanaians were compelled to take. I think gave us, those who traveled, gave us a deep sense, especially when the repatriation order came in and Ghanaians had to go back home, especially those who had traveled along the West Coast, had to go back home. They took with them these ideals of hard work, of sacrifice, of tenacity, of the fact that if I could work a little bit harder, if I could dream a little bit more, it's possible to change things around. And so people came back with these new ideals, new resolution, because when you travel, it builds in you a character that perhaps before you left, you had no idea you had that character in you. A lot of people took upon jobs that they would not have done back home. So when they came back, they knew, if I could do this in another country, here in Ghana, back in Ghana, I could do the same thing, not just for somebody, but for myself, such that it will give me a sense of worth, a sense of progress, and perhaps success. And so the convergence between those who stay at home and those who stay at home sacrifice. I remember a lot of my friends who stayed at home. Some of them became part of the government, and even now they're still part of the government. They've taken up very important positions in government from Rawlins's time up to the present. So it's really a blessing in a way, and not only a blessing, but the fact that when you are able to reevaluate your own self, you can tell, you have the notion that you could do better, given the opportunity. If the playing field is leveled, certainly you have a chance to do something for yourself also.
That is correct. If the playing field is level, you realize that it's time to do something for yourself. Yes, I knew this firsthand when you're talking about people who came back after,
Yes.
are living in other countries of Africa, maybe beyond the continent. When they came back,
Yes.
they took with them that big heart, that
Yes.
willpower,
Yes. Yeah.
So what characterizes those people, and until today, Ghanaians, if I may overgeneralize, please give me a chance to generalize here. Tenacity,
Yes.
resilient.
Yes.
They're resilient,
Yes.
innovative,
Yes.
creative.
Yeah.
They don't want to give up.
Yes.
And I saw this firsthand.
Yes.
And I can tell you, and in Togo, during those periods of, I wouldn't say mass deportation, but it was displacement and migrations, massive migrations. Ghanaians everywhere
Yes.
showed their tenacity,
Yes.
their resilience, their humility.
Yes.
And I know in Cotonou, and Cotonou people are listening to me.
Yes.
If you saw somebody with a box, wooden box,
Yes.
okay, and knocking like this,
Yes.
you knew it was a Ghanaian
Yes.
calling for people who like
Yes.
for them to come and shine their shoe.
Yes. 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 Yes.
And the people in Benin will call them shoemaker, shoemaker. So they learn that phrase just by seeing these people doing that. No
Yes.
Beninese, no Beninois will do that today because they think it's demeaning. No,
Exactly.
no, it's not. And they took it back.
Yes.
Yeah, when things went right, became flourishing, started flourishing, they
Yes.
all went back. No
Yes.
more shoemaker in Benin, no more shoemaker maybe in Togo. What a shame, what a shame.
Yes.
But Ghanaians taught us a good lesson, okay? And there's one more thing that I would say about those Ghanaians, based on fact. Their level of patriotism is unmatchable, I would say. They love their country. They
Yes.
love their country.
Yes.
Those years when I was in Ghana,
Yes.
I mean, everybody, no matter where they were, they would come back home on Christmas anyway. They
Exactly.
would travel, they would flock back to Ghana to celebrate.
Yes.
Celebrate their lives, celebrate their people, celebrate their native land, which is a beautiful thing indeed.
Yes.
Now, at this point, do you have any words or advice to fellow Ghanaians and Africans in remembrance of Nkrumah, Mandela, Jerry John Rawlings, nation-building activists in general, and modern-day Pan-Africanism advocates? So let me say that again. All those big names, Nkrumah, Mandela, J.J. Rawlings,
Yes.
okay? All the nation-building activists and
Yes.
the modern-day Pan-Africanism advocates.
Yes. Yes.
Do you have any words for them?
Yes.
What is it that we need to emulate, learning from Ghana, the Gold Coast?
Yes.
The Gold Coast.
Yes. Yeah, I think one thing that perhaps stands out among all these great leaders, from Kwame Nkrumah through Nelson Mandela, Rawlings, and of course some other early African leaders, Jomo Kenyatta, Banda, and so on. I think what stands out when you look at all these iconic leaders is their sense of belonging to their country, that their country is the soul of their being. And so whatever they had to do was about making the country better. And so we're lucky to have had these great leaders. And I think part of what we'll continue to pray for is that we'll continue to have these leaders that come to work for the country, to work for the betterment of the society, socially, economically, politically, culturally. It has to be for the country, not for themselves, not for their families, not for their friends. And you see that is fundamental among all these leaders, because they all talk about their vision not only for Ghana and the specific countries, but for the continent as a whole. So a person like Kwame Nkrumah, when he was overthrown, he said, well, if I knew you all, if I knew that you wanted this and that, I would have given it to you. Because it's a sense of making sure that the country stands, that the country prospers, not just for yourself, but for everybody. And certainly if you look at Mandela, I remember that the last time before he went to prison and he was being asked to renounce armed struggle, he said, no, I'm not going to do that. The struggle is my life, and I'll continue to fight until the last day. So for these leaders, that sense of destiny, that sense of upholding their country, bringing dignity to their country, bringing the best out of the citizens is perhaps what stands out among all these leaders. And their vision is not only for individual countries, but certainly for Africa as a whole. And certainly they all manifested that in their actions and throughout their ruling, because that was consistent. It's for the country, it's for the nation, it's for the people, not for a specific group of people, but the country and collectively the nation as a whole.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Now, let me ask you this. What is it that you like about, because Ghana is, of course, an English-speaking country. What is it that you like about, if anything at all, about French-speaking countries on the west coast of Africa or all over Africa? A couple of things that you believe you like that maybe Ghana does not or didn't have, and you wish they had.
Yes, yeah, certainly. That's true. I had the not the opportunity, but part of my family. My grandmother came from Togo, and so even while we were back in school, middle school, we always went back to Togo to visit. My grandmother came from Aneho, and so we always went back to Togo during the summer holidays to visit, to reunite with families there. And what really struck me and continued to strike me about Togo is that sense of, again, of that the culture that they have there, the sense of family, a sense of trying to do the best you can, a sense of honesty, integrity, what one sees in these African countries, especially in the French-speaking countries also. Certainly, it's part of what makes the African culture what it is. And as I always tell friends, when you go from one country to another, until you start speaking, perhaps they wouldn't know that you're a Ghanaian, you're a Nigerian, you're a Togolese. When I was in Nigeria, many times, I will go out, I'm talking, I'm interacting with people. They couldn't tell that I'm a Ghanaian. And in fact, one particular moment that I remember clearly was when Ghana won the African Cup then in, I believe, 1981, 82. And, people were just talking in the transportation of the bus, as you would call, that's the name they call it, but we're all sitting and talking. And they didn't know I'm a Ghanaian. And in fact, they had known, they probably have beaten me up. But they didn't know, because once you get there and start talking, you begin to absorb the language and so on, and how it's spoken. So they wouldn't know. And I think that is a great characteristic. It's a great, really, blessing for us as Africans. We know that doesn't happen in certain places in the world. But in Africa, you're always assured that when you are in any African country, they accept you, they embrace you as a brother, as a friend. When I was in Nigeria, I had a lot of friends. We all go out, and nobody knew that I was a Ghanaian because we're all Africans in a way. And so there are things that we share as people, our values, our beliefs, our joys, our hopes, our aspirations. In fact, that is what connects all of us as Africans. And I was watching a program about immigrants in Madagascar, and I felt terrible. I felt really sad because they were complaining about racism, discrimination in Madagascar, and it's simply because those who are doing the job that we have mentioned, menial jobs, washing dishes, cutting fish for the restaurants, doing basic humiliating jobs, were done by immigrants from Nigeria, Ghana, and they were not even given that respect, that dignity of their humanity. They call them names, and they're even scared because they ask some of them, okay, what is it that bothers you about this being here? No, I can't say. People say, I can't say it because if I say it, they'll either imprison me or treat me more harshly than what I'm experiencing now. So I think for us as Africans, again, I went to visit my brother, my younger brother in Swaziland. We went to South Africa. Nobody knew that. Even they don't know that my brother is from Ghana. I interacted with the people in Swaziland. We went to South Africa. They couldn't tell because we are in this together, like they said. We're all Africans. We shared these common values and aspirations and our humanity.
Thank you so much for those generous and beautiful and nice and well put comments and description of who we are as Africans. When I was talking about French-speaking countries, the differences, maybe things that they had and Ghanaian might not have. Actually, you turn that around and you say, after all, we are the same. We are all the same, and that's true. Absolutely. I thought you were going to say, okay, the French-speaking people in Africa are well-mannered. They know how to hold the fork, they know how to drink wine, so on and forth, and you would dwell heavily on the French culture because French-speaking African countries were known to have been assimilated culturally, but it is time we turn things around. Thank you for those nice comments. You have any more words to say?
Yeah, and again, in those same lines about our common humanity as Africans, certainly there are certain things that that do reflect the French-speaking Africans' background. For example, we know that the Togolese, before the chaos and all that, were more disciplined. I remember when we used to go to Togo, by 6 p.m. you had to be home, right? Because if not, you could be arrested overnight and may spend the night in jail and go back. When I was in middle school, we went to Togo, and as Ghanaians, we had that sense of freedom, that sense of being vocal. So we're coming back from Togo back to Ghana, and at the border, they stopped us. And so as the gendarme, is that gendarme?
Yeah, gendarme.
Yeah.
Military police, you will call them in Ghana, military police. Yeah.
Yes. As he was talking and carrying on, people started laughing. And he said, he had to say something in English. Well, if there are monkeys in Ghana, there are no monkeys here. Now everybody had to shut up because at that time you knew that there could be repercussions. But I think the French-speaking African countries manifest that sense of discipline, that sense of societal alignment and a sense of order, perhaps not unlike the one that happens in some of the English-speaking countries, because we don't have that rigidity, that sense of rigidity, perhaps in terms of the implementation of the rules, the laws of the country, as you would see in some of the French-speaking countries.
Right. All right, I have one more question for you. You are not an economist, but hey, I remember the cedis, you know, the Ghanaian currency. Yes. I mean, you used to carry the cedis in bags to buy maybe one loaf of bread, right. And then things changed, the up and down. Can you tell us something about, Ghana having their own currency,
Yes.
and the French-speaking countries of Africa
Yes.
all together using CFA.
Yes.
But Ghana has a CD, Nigeria has Naira, and so on and so
Yes.
forth. How is Ghana doing currency-wise?
Of course, the value of the city fluctuates.
Yeah.
But to a large extent, it's not as outrageous and out of control in terms of the conversion from the dollar to the cedi.
Yeah.
And not only that, the economy of Ghana has so much become stronger that there are a lot of people who live in Ghana and use the city for everything that they need to do, from opening their own businesses, investing, buying houses. And sometimes when you go back home and you see how people have come along, where they live, the things they have, it makes you proud and sometimes even saddened that all your life has been spent away from home. And sometimes they seem to be well adjusted, happier than you are when you're outside the country. And so the economy has strengthened to the point where now the dollar is still certainly stronger than our city, but you don't need to have the dollars to live a good life,
Right.
to live a prosperous life.
Right.
My brother-in-law, for example, has his own manufacturing business. He also has parts where he sells building parts, and he never left home.
Wow.
My cousin is an engineer. He never left home, and it's something that reflects again Ghana, what makes Ghana what it is, the values that we cherish, our sense of working hard, our sense of knowing that if you sacrifice, if you work hard, things will get better. I know a lot of us are dying to go back home, and I know friends who've gone back home, and they're doing very well. They become part of society. A friend of mine, he's gone back home. He's an accountant. He's opened his own firm. He started his own building construction business, and that is the story. And so what you hear now is a sense, it's a hope that you can also go back and give back to the community and to society what has made it what it is, what they have given to you as a person and as a Ghanaian.
Thank you so much, Professor Nakote Hervey, for just summarizing this on a very good and positive note. I really appreciate it. Yes. Ghana is at the center of Africa. This is the capital of Africa. If Africa were to become a republic, or a federal republic of Africa, I will vote for Ghana to be the capital city. That was the dream. I mean, uniting Africa has been the dream of all of our parents and the founding fathers of those countries that freshly emerged from colonialism and became independent. And Nkrumah said, "No nation shall feel free until all African countries got independent. And when they got independent, they should all unite because the fate is the same." And I learned that in Ghana when they used to say this slogan, "One country, one people, and one destiny," I believe.
Yes.
Something along that line.
Yes.
Thank you for coming to this show today. We really appreciate what you had to share. And don't hesitate to call us if you have new ideas to share with us about Ghana and about other African countries. But then before you come here next time, or next time you want to travel, please don't go back to Switzerland and South Africa alone. Think about Togo, think about Ghana, Benin, Cotonou, Labelle, think about Ivory Coast, think about Côte d'Ivoire, for example.
Right.
See,
Right.
and it's interesting. It's really interesting to see that individual countries are really not just not struggling, but they're working really hard
Yes, they are.
to build, to reestablish what
Yes.
we took to heart as our dream, as a
Yes.
common dream,
Yes.
Africa to unite, and
Yes.
the new hope for
Yes.
Africa, the
Yes.
rebirth of our countries and
Yes.
the whole continent of Africa. That's
Yes.
what we want.
Yes.
It's been an uphill battle for some countries that went through a lot, but a lot of good things are happening, and
Absolutely.
Africa will get back on its feet. But there are key conditions, and I strongly believe we will
Yes.
meet all those conditions,
Yes.
those requirements, and we make it happen. Thank
Yes.
you for coming to our show today. And let me talk to all Africans, people of African descent, Pan-Africans, and friends of Temple Africa TV. Should you know of any talented person like Professor Hervé Nakote, institutions or organizations who are involved in innovative projects with the potential to transform lives in Africa, please share their contacts with WhatsApp Africa, Kofel Afrik, via this email is africtv@gmail.com, or simply dial 1612-224-2020. We are also on WhatsApp, we are on Facebook, and we are on YouTube. Humbled and privileged to hold this weekly show. I'm Professor Desiree Balubi from Norfolk State University in Virginia, USA. Thank you for watching, and may God bless you all.
C'est encore Yves Kenao, c'est toujours Yves Kenao qui revient. Cette fois-ci, pour vous dire que Tempo Afrique TV vous offre plus de 4000 chaînes de télévision. Les chaînes européennes, les chaînes américaines, les chaînes asiatiques, les chaînes africaines. À un prix imbattable. À un prix imbattable. Tenez-vous bien. $185 pour 12 mois, inclus le box. Alors, où est-ce que vous pouvez trouver mieux que ça si ce n'est pas sur Tempo Afrique TV? Mesdames, Messieurs, appelez seulement le 612 804 0295 et vous serez servi. Vous serez agréablement surpris de voir plus de 4000 chaînes de télévision rouler sur votre écran comme ça et vous choisissez laquelle vous voulez. Alors mesdames, n'hésitez pas. N'hésitez surtout pas et ne faites pas compter. Prenez votre téléphone, prenez le tout de suite et appelez le 612, le 804, le 02 95. Nous sommes là, ici à Tempo TV, pour rendre votre vie simple et agréable. Alors, saisissez l'occasion. $185 pour toute une année, pour 12 mois, inclus le box. Quoi de mieux que ça?
Du nouveau à Minneapolis, Tempo Afrique Travel. Vous voulez voyager? Achetez vos billets d'avion à l'agent de voyage Tempo Afrique Travel. Avec l'agent de voyage Tempo Afrique Travel, pas de problème de connexion, pas de problème de transfert de vol. Avec l'agent de voyage Tempo Afrique Travel, c'est le voyage en toute tranquillité, en toute beauté, de votre maison jusqu'à votre destination. Votre satisfaction est notre plaisir.
My whole life, my father told me stories about moving to the United States. He would tell me that his brother, my Uncle George, was already living here and let my father stay with him for a while. Through my Uncle George, my father was introduced to our cultural organization here in America, who helped him make connections, apply for college, find his first job, and adjust to life in a completely different culture than he was used to. The Cultural Association helped him get started on his new life. My Uncle George would bring my father with him to the annual Summer Cultural Groups Festival, and later, he would bring me. It was incredible to see so many people of all ages laughing and celebrating with food and song and dance. It brought back the best feelings of home and gave my father the opportunity to pass his culture, language, and values on to me. My father and Uncle George were very close, so when George died last year, my father wanted to honor his wishes to be buried with a traditional